Hi, everybody. Order. Order. Have to go across. The date is going across the process. It's actually longer than all right, let's get started, everybody. If you don't mind, the date is June 12th, 2025. The time is 7:19, and let's call this meeting to order. This is a meeting of Standing Committee 3 and Standing Committee 2. I really want to thank the members who organized this meeting. So the first item on the agenda, and feel free to take over if anybody wants to. I'm just doing it for the sake of this expediency. Is the welcome and intros, which we're doing right now. Second item is announcements from city agencies. If there are any city agencies that would like to make an announcement, I know we have Grow NYC scheduled for a presentation. We're going to get to that in a little bit. Then we have Ujama Garden for a presentation. Are there any other city agencies present who would like to make us aware of anything? Hi, Ashlyn. Yeah, feel free to be identified.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Ashlyn. I've had the opportunity to meet Luke before, and I just wanted to introduce myself to you all. I work for Parks in something called Partnerships for Parks, which means I get the pleasure of working with folks who want to volunteer in their local parks or otherwise activate, do events in their parks. I put my email in the chat. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions about parks or want to get involved somehow. I'm happy to connect you to the right people. Otherwise, I'm just here to listen and learn today. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Ashlyn, and really want to thank you for the activation and collaboration around Renzi Playground and those capital planning conversations that we're having with a local school teacher. Are there any other city agencies? I see DSNY on the call and DSS. If you want to unmute, feel free to say hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
My camera isn't working, so I apologize for that. But I just wanted to give a quick update on skimming. So the state assembly, our state Senate passed a bill that would allow that would authorize the OTDA to install chips technology in our EBT card to prevent the skimming from occurring. That bill is has passed the Assembly. We're waiting for it to pass the Senate. I'm sorry, it passed the Senate. We're waiting for it to pass the Assembly. We think that that is a prelude to ending the skimming crisis. As you know, hundreds of New Yorkers have been scammed and lost their money through fraud. And we previously had the ability to reimburse New Yorkers, but that authority was taken away on the 20th of December, 2024, after it was not included in the reconciliation bill. So we need either two things to happen: for the Congress to include skimming in a reconciliation in their upcoming bill to allow people to be reimbursed for skimming, and we need for the state to install those chips in the EBT cards. So we're hoping that the community board could help us out in terms of advocacy on both the federal level, call on, Congress is considering budgets as we speak. So call on them to include reimbursement of skimming in their legislation. And then we need for the state to move on putting the microchips in the cards, because as we know, the microchips minimize the ability for clients to be skimmed. A lot of New Yorkers are being skimmed on a regular basis, and we have no recourse other than to send them to food pantries. So we're asking for the community board's help, call on the state to install these chips in the EBT cards, and we're also asking for you to call on the feds to reauthorize us to issue reimbursement for those who have been skimmed.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hooks. Is there any language to that effect that you have sent the board in writing at all, by chance?
I have not, but I'm happy to do so tomorrow morning.
Okay, that would be helpful. But this is probably a topic of Committee 3 domain. Personally, I think this is a great thing that if we want to vote on a resolution of support, we can finalize the language after Mr. Hooks, gives us some of the specific language that he thinks is useful for us to call on our advocates and the state and federal leaders. But if anybody from Committee 3 wants to take the idea of potentially writing a resolution, this could be a good time to talk about that. Does anybody from Committee 3 want to speak up?
I want to write the resolution.
Okay. Okay.
The resolution to install microchips inside of the EBT cards. You said it passed it. What was exactly the resolution?
So we would basically be calling on the other chamber of the state legislature to also pass a bill, if I'm correct. And then also we're calling on our federal officials to reimburse, allow the financing to reimburse people who have been defrauded for skimming.
Okay, I'll do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe, are there any comments about this? We're forming kind of a resolution on the fly here. I think the motion would look something like a resolution to call on our state legislature to pass in both chambers these chips for EBT cards, and to call on our federal officials to provide finances to reimburse people who have been defrauded for this type of crime.
Just essentially a letter. Wait, I thought we were just supposed to be making a motion for.
Yeah, that's where I'm articulating the motion. Yeah, just so that we have a sense of what we're voting on.
Yeah.
Okay, seconded. Are there any comments, questions? We have Department of Social Services here. Any ayes? Aye. Any nays? Hearing none. Any abstentions? Any recusals? Passes unanimously. Thank you so much, Mr. Hooks, for that wonderful explanation and advocacy.
My pleasure. I'll send the information tomorrow morning.
That'd be great. Okay. Are there any other offices that would like to speak to right now?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Stephen Caruso, Superintendent of the DSNY Bureau of Public Affairs. Nice to see some familiar faces here tonight. Really just here to listen in and answer any questions or concerns that you may have. But while I have the floor, just real quick, a reminder about composting. Composting is mandatory. It's true that for the remainder of the year, our focus is going to be on education and outreach. We want folks to know how to do it, why we're doing it, when to do it, so on and so forth. But regardless, it is mandatory. And I do want to make a point to mention that there are still some properties, larger buildings really, which have received multiple warnings that may still receive a violation. I know some folks needed some clarity on that. Again, focus is on outreach and education, although some properties can actually receive a violation for not participating. But in any case, we have a wonderful relationship with the board. We're in regular communication with the district manager, George. So a lot of the issues that we see, we handle on a day-to-day or a weekly basis. But nonetheless, happy to be here and happy to answer any questions as we get into it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Caruso. Are there any questions or comments? Yeah.
How you doing, Mr. Caruso? Can you hear me?
Yes, I could hear you. How are you?
All right. I just wanted to ask just a couple of, they might be minor things, but I see a problem on my block when
Mhm.
sanitation is picking up the garbage. I just
Okay.
want to know, are, are they allowed to throw the garbage cans just to the ground and just leave them?
So when you say throw them to the ground, do you mean they're just tossing them
Just
after
toss them.
just
Yes,
toss them?
they just toss them. They don't stand them up. They just toss them
I mean,
after they empty them.
yeah, what they should be doing is making sure that the bins go back, in the same way that they found them. Does that always happen? No, they're out there moving and grooving, trying to get through their routes and avoid cars and trucks and people trying to get to school and work. But nonetheless, they should still be acting in a professional manner. They shouldn't be throwing the cans around. Um, if you could send me your particular block and your cross streets, I could identify if we have regular workers on that route, and we could absolutely speak to them and remind them to act in a professional manner.
All right, and one other question is when the truck has after the truck has moved up the block and they're steady for a second, they take a lot of garbage in, and sometimes liquids leak from the truck, right? And it's a very foul odor along with some garbage. Now I used to see the push brooms and dustpans. Aren't they supposed to use those push brooms and dustpan if garbage falls out of the truck as it's compressing the garbage?
Absolutely. Each truck, regardless of function, is equipped with a broom and shovel. And if there is any spillage while they're doing collection, they are absolutely supposed to clean it up. They're not supposed to leave that behind. If that's happening, if you could get a truck number, that helps us to identify who's doing that and then address it directly with the employee.
All right, that's it. That's
Mhm.
all I'm gonna. Thank
Sir?
you.
Okay, so this is Carlo Borsati. Steve, we've worked together in the past.
Yes, we have.
Yes. Do you have any general statistics on compliance with composting at this stage?
So I mean I don't have those numbers in front of me this evening. I could certainly get you probably weights for the Bronx and how that compares citywide, but I can say that week after week we have been uh, collecting more compost weight than we have in prior weeks. So in April, the first week of April, we had the most weight we've collected up to that point. Then the second week, even more. Third week, even more. So as the program continues, we are seeing an increase in participation, and we know that because of the increase in the amount of weight that we're picking up weekly.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Just a reminder for board members, if you don't mind signing the sign-in sheet.
Here is for us to prepare a budget consultation, which means this is our time to ask for things that we see the need. For example, from DSNY, I don't catch your name. Even Caruso.
Yeah, he's here.
Yes. Hello.
I get copies. So to my board members that today's consultation for I was submitted in October. Some of the things that the board had proposed, or staff, right? So break down and talk about beds and corners that are just laying around, not having been collected. We talk about white things road, not having enough enforcement there as well.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm having a really difficult time hearing you. I apologize.
That's okay.
Maybe
Can
just-
you
much
hear me
better.
now?
Yes,
Okay.
much better.
So just reminding the boards that the purpose of having you all here, our city agencies, is to discuss our, for budget consultations, our district needs. And so things that come up pretty often on the board is abandoned cars that
Mhm.
haven't been collected, enforcement, We talk a lot about White Plains Road, things that are just, we don't have, I guess enough, DSNY doesn't have enough staff. And these are things where we need to see more, not just garbage collection, but just, we have the, what would you call those, trucks that go around cleaning the streets?
Yeah, so if we're going to
The
talk
sweepers?
about district needs, yeah, well, manual litter patrol, that's one of our functions. Those are the trucks that are out there collecting a lot of the illegal dumping and the drop-offs and some of the larger materials. That'd be manual litter patrol, of course. Street sweepers, obviously, as you know, they're out there to make sure that we try and clean the curb lines as best we can. Although, really, the responsibility of our property and business owners and mechanical broom service is supplemental. Of course, that's a nice accommodation to have, right? So, as far as cleaning goes, we're always going to ask for additional cleaning resources. We have a saying over here: "Cleaning never ends." I'm happy to get into the specifics if you'd like, if this is the right place
Yes.
for it. Okay.
Yes, because then, if you share with us what you have, and then we as a group, we know there's a need for an increase of, then we can add that to our budget needs to push for more.
Okay, so yeah, like I had mentioned, MLP, manual litter control, that's absolutely something that we would advocate for more of. Again, those are the trucks that are dedicated to picking up some of the illegal dumping and the drop-offs that you see along the streets and commercial corridors and whatnot. An increase in basket service, of course, that's always something that we'd like to see, right? We service the baskets in Bronx 12 daily, sometimes multiple times per day. But as we know, at times, if baskets are doing what they're supposed to be doing, they're attracting litter. Sometimes that leads to abuse, and that leads to businesses and homeowners sometimes dropping their bags at the corner basket. So an increase in basket pickup would definitely help to alleviate some of that. Lot cleaning, I do get requests occasionally from your community board in particular regarding abandoned lots. So what we would like to see is an increase potentially in our lot cleaning unit. We at one time had a robust lot cleaning unit. Headcount was reduced a few years ago or a couple years ago. If we could get back to the numbers that we were at, that would be fantastic. That would lead to expedited response time when requests do come in. So those are just some of the cleaning related services that we would advocate for.
Yeah.
Now,
Stephen, would you be able to repeat the first one before basket cleaning?
that's what we call manual litter patrol, MLP.
Manual litter.
Manual litter patrol.
Okay.
MLP.
Pass this over to Javed. Sorry.
I think you had a question, right? Yeah.
So again, my question regarding churches, I am a pastor, and I want to know what the responsibility is with compost in regards to churches.
So if you could send me the exact location of the church, it would help me to identify. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
713 East 222nd Street.
East 222nd?
Yes.
And what's the name of the church?
United Christian Baptist Church.
United Christian Baptist. Okay, you may be exempt, but let me find out for sure and respond to the board tomorrow.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
No, it's fine.
Of course. Okay, so one other thing, cameras for illegal dumping. I assist with a community garden in the neighborhood, and we have people who dump trash in it all the time. But we were told by our city council member's office that there's a limit of how many cameras, DSNY cameras, have been allotted to enforce this type of behavior. Is there a way that, can we advocate for more cameras? Is that something that you'd be able to put in the budget, or is that some kind of federal or state thing?
No, if that's something that you are willing to advocate for, I could tell you that the illegal dumping cameras have proven to be very successful. Across the city, we have them installed in all 5 boroughs. And essentially, for those of you which are not familiar with the illegal dumping cameras, real quick, in the past, in order to catch illegal dumpers, we would have to catch them in the act. So our sanitation police would have to have traditional surveillance, and they would have to catch somebody taking material out of their vehicle and leaving it somewhere where it shouldn't be. That's what illegal dumping is, right? Of course, we can't be on every single city street 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, right? So with the illegal dumping cameras, we identify areas in which there's chronic illegal dumping, and then once the dumping does occur, we use the cameras to find out exactly who did it. So again, very, very useful tool in combating illegal dumping. So by all means, if you're willing to advocate for that, we'd love to see that. And while we're talking about enforcement in general, I do get a lot of inquiries from your board regarding mobile car washes and vending in particular. So one thing that we can ask for is additional headcount, maybe for enforcement, right? Because if we're going to be absorbing some of these other functions like mobile car washes and vendings and whatnot, again, many times your board in particular sending these concerns over to us, maybe an increase in headcount would be a good idea.
Got it. Thank you. Okay. It's fast because we got somebody who needs to first.
What about, since we don't have the cameras right now, what if somebody was the video on their cell phone? Because you said you have to catch the person in the act. What if they did it on their cell phone?
So unfortunately, we can't use cell phone footage. But what you could do is if you see this happening and you could give us a vehicle description and a license plate, and you're willing to sign an affidavit stating that you witnessed this, then we could use that. And as a matter of fact, if we were to locate this person and prosecute them, you would be entitled to 50% of the fine. Fines start at $4,000. They go up to about $20,000. So that's another tool that we have in the toolbox.
All right. Debris after storms. Are you talking about like downed branches, tree branches? Is that you guys downed tree branches after a storm?
So that's more of, we are involved in that, yes, but that's a multi-agency effort, especially after if we have a storm with a lot of rain and wind. It's going to be a mix of DSNY and FDNY and the Parks Department. We all kind of pitch in after a storm. That's that's special circumstances. But generally speaking, we do take smaller branches with compost that could be set curbside for collection. If we're talking about like a big tree limb that falls down, of course, we're going to need the help of one of the other agencies to cut it up, and then we could come and take it if need be.
Got it. So another thing, go on. Yeah.
Thank you for being on today, as well as we just wanted to thank the chief of DSNY for the new initiative of cleaning up certain areas in the Bronx with illegal needles. That's also not so much an issue in this particular area, but can that be combined with lot cleanups and just general cleanup initiatives?
So we have a specialized unit that does needle and syringe pickup. They are trained to do that. We have increased the number of personnel that we have which do that on, and I will say we respond to that rather quickly once a 311 complaint is placed. We do have pre-scheduled walks which do take place throughout the city. But of course, we'd always be open to expanding that unit as well.
Okay. One last thing that I'd like us to consider today is increasing the number of small street sweepers. So as our streets kind of become more accessible for different forms of vehicles and pedestrian spaces, there are new needs for DSNY to get into smaller spaces. For example, pedestrian spaces that are created. So I'd like to include an increase in the amount of smaller street sweepers that DSNY can deploy. So here's the list, and I'd like us to potentially adopt this tonight if we're all in unison. Increase in manual litter patrol, increase in basket service, increase in abandoned lot cleaning, increase in the number of illegal dumping cameras, increase in the number of small street sweepers, increase in the headcount of enforcement, increase in needle and syringe cleanup. Are there any other things that we'd like to include in our budget. Okay, so are there any questions to adopt on a motion to adopt this into our statement of district needs? Are there any comments, any abstentions, any nays, any recusals, any votes in favor? I'll say aye. Aye. Unanimously passes. Thank you so much, Mr. Caruso, for your time. And now, if the committees don't mind, we'll turn it over to Grow NYC, who has to be out here in 15 minutes for your presentation. We will.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you all for having me here. And thank you for the introduction. Yes, I know Mr. Caruso mentioned the composting program, talked about the composting program, also mentioned education and engagement, and so that's what I'm here for. I'm from Grow NYC. I'm going to try to share my screen quick. I have a quick presentation I'd like to share. Okay, it says it's sharing for me. Somebody please stop me if that's not the case. But yes, I'm here to talk briefly about the curbside composting program. So I'm from Grow NYC. So we are a nonprofit here in New York City. We do a lot of different work environmentally around the city. You might know us for our green markets across the city or food stands. A lot of our work has to do with food access and connecting New Yorkers to local food. We also do work with waste and education, and so that's where I fit in. I am education coordinator on the compost education program, and we are actually partnering with the Department of Sanitation to provide a bit more education and outreach about the curbside composting program. So we'll get to talking about composting and recycling, but I want to start off talking a little bit more about why waste is such a big problem right now, especially in New York City. And so every single person in New York City is actually sending around 1,000 pounds of trash each. That's going to end up in a landfill. 1,000 pounds of trash, every single person. It's about the size of an adult buffalo worth of trash. And so that's just each person, but we put that together. All of New York City is actually making 8.5 billion pounds of waste every single year. 8.5 billion, it's a really big number. It's hard to imagine just how much that is, but it's about the same weight as 5 Empire State Buildings, as well as 19,000 blue whales. So that's the amount of waste coming out in New York City just in a year. And so if we were to put all of our waste right here in Central Park, after 1 year, it would be almost 90 feet high, or up to half the height of the Statue of Liberty. So it's a ton of waste we're producing, and it has to go somewhere, right? Where is it going, though? So around 20% of our trash in New York City is going to end up at incinerators. So these are facilities where our trash is burned, and we are able to get a small amount of energy from this. But as you can imagine, the process of burning trash releases a lot of pollutants into the air, which is harmful to the environment and also nearby communities. And so this is a picture of an incinerator in Newark, New Jersey, that receives some of trash from New York City. But the majority is actually going to landfills. So 80% of our 8.5 billion pounds will end up in landfills, and these are huge areas of land. The average landfill is about as big as Central Park, and our trash is just going there to sit. And as we've been producing more and more trash throughout the years, we've had to create more and more landfills to make up for that. So this is just a quick map. We're going to start in 1913 and just look at all of the landfills that are having to pop up. This is here, 70s and 80s. You can see a big boom as plastic production is more common. And here we are in 2013. You can see, even though we have closed landfills, landfills that aren't accepting any more waste. They've reached their capacity. It's still just trash that's sitting there, right? Things like plastics and glass don't really break down. All that trash is still sitting somewhere. And it's a big problem, especially in New York City, because we don't have any landfills anymore. So New York City has to ship its waste. So our waste travels to 7 different states, over 600 miles. It goes to as far as Ohio, as far as South Carolina. And this is really expensive. It costs almost $500 million every single year. That's taxpayer money that's going towards just shipping our trash to landfills. It's not just that they're expensive, but the major problem with landfills is the environmental problem. So as you can imagine, a pile of trash as big as Central Park, right? Just what kind of chemicals are leaking out of that? We call that leachate. That can contaminate the groundwater, affect nearby communities. And also, landfills produce a lot of methane, which is a very powerful greenhouse gas. So particularly food, when our food rots in landfills, that food releases methane. And so landfills actually make up around 15% of all the methane emissions coming out of the US. So our food waste specifically going to trash is a big contributor to climate change. And, I'm not going to get too much into climate change right now, but it's a big problem in New York City, especially being a coastal city. This is just a scary picture of Lower Manhattan with the projected sea level rise. And these are a couple images of the flooding we've had in the past couple years. Climate change, we're going to be experiencing more intense storms, more frequent storms, which can be really damaging to our infrastructure. And also, if you remember from a couple summers ago, the wildfires, climate change will be experiencing more wildfires and what that did to the air quality in New York City for that time. But we talked a little bit about the problem. So what can we do about it? Well, we will talk about composting and recycling, but I want to emphasize first just the steps that we can take before that, which are even more impactful, right? Preventing that waste from happening, reducing the amount of waste we're making in the first place, and also reusing as much as we can before we have to throw things out. So if we're doing these things, even before composting and recycling, that's going to make a much bigger difference. Especially when we talk about composting and food, because food waste especially is a really big issue. 30 to 40% of all the food being produced in the US is wasted every single year. So it's around $161 billion worth of food that is lost. Imagine you go to the grocery store and you buy 3 bags of groceries, right? And as soon as you get home, you throw 1 bag away. That's kind of what food waste looks like. And so now with the addition of the composting program, and now that it's a mandatory program as well, we have a really big opportunity in New York City to divert a lot of our waste from these landfills. So this is a study from sanitation just a couple years ago about what kind of waste is coming out of our homes in New York City. And you can see 36% of our waste can be composted, another 32% can be recycled. A big opportunity to divert our waste, and it really leaves 25% of all the waste coming out of our homes should be going to the trash. So what even is compost? Really quick, if you don't know, compost, the finished product of compost is a nutrient-rich soil that we can use as fertilizer for plants and trees. We get compost, you can kind of see a picture of it here, but we get compost when we put food and organic material, we put it in the right environment, it's going to break down naturally over time into this finished product of compost. And so that's kind of how we get this zero waste cycle when we compost, right? We're farming, we're growing food, we're eating that food. We can now set out our food scraps for compost collection that then gets processed, turned back into compost. And then we can use that to grow even more food. So we kind of get this cycle. And where do our compostable materials even go? We talked about where our trash goes, right? But our compost stays local. So there's a huge facility out on Staten Island where our compost is turned into that finished compost, that natural fertilizer. Otherwise, depending on where you are in the city, it can also be taken to be anaerobically digested. So it's a little bit of a different process, but places like Newtown Creek wastewater treatment plant will accept compostable material, and they take it and they actually turn it into biogas, and give it back, put it back into the grid. So it's a little bit of a different process, but still a really important resource and a lot better than that food ending up in landfills and releasing methane. And also it's not just compost that stays local, but also recycling too. So Balcones Recycling Facility in Brooklyn is actually the largest materials recovery facility in the country. They take the majority of our metals, glass, and plastics. There's also Pratt Industries on Staten Island that takes most of our paper and cardboard recycling. So it's not just composting, but recycling stays local. And by participating, by recycling and composting, those industries actually create 7 times as many local jobs as trash does. And if you need any more reason, to participate in the composting program, one of the biggest reasons that it was started in the city is because of the pest problem, right? The current system of setting out our trash in plastic bags, putting those piles of trash on the curb, it's really easy for rats and other rodents to access that, really easy for them to get into those plastic bags. But now with composting, we can keep our food waste containerized the whole way when it goes out onto the curb. And these rat-proof bins do a lot to limit that food source for pests. And lastly, just covering how we can participate in the composting program. So it is now mandatory for all 5 boroughs. It's available to everyone. Collection is the same day as recycling. And compost can even be set out in any container, as long as it is labeled, as long as it is has a lid, it's containerized, and it's 55 gallons or less. So it doesn't even have to be one of these brown bins, which I'm sure you've seen or maybe have, but it can be any bin labeled and with a lid. And really quick, what can we put in each bin? The compost bin is going to take all of our organic material. So it's going to be things like food scraps. So food scraps, vegetable peels, onion peels, even meat and dairy products, chicken bones, coffee grounds, anything food can be composted, as well as paper products. So things like napkins and paper towels can be composted, paper bags, even pizza boxes can go in the compost bin. And then yard waste is going to be another big one. Yard waste, any plant trimmings, grass trimmings, dead flowers, all that can be composted, as well as compostable products you might be seeing in the stores nowadays. And so really quick too, the blue recycling bin. So there's the 2 different recycling streams because they go to different places. And in the blue recycling, we can put all of our hard, rigid plastics. So hard plastics, it's going to be things like water bottles, takeout containers, yogurt cups, any rigid plastics. Also cartons. So milk cartons, juice boxes go in the blue recycling. I know they kind of seem like paper products, but because they have that plastic coating, that makes them a carton, and it means they have to go in the blue bin. And then metals and glass too. So mason jars, glass bottles can go in the recycling, and also any metals. So aluminum cans, aluminum foil, but also even, like metal frying pans, metal furniture, as long as it's, metal material, any metals can be recycled. And then the green bin as well. So green bin, separate from the blue bin, is going to be our paper and cardboard. Really simple, all papers and all cardboard. So cardboard boxes, shipping boxes, all that. And then if you remember, only 25% of the waste coming out of our homes should be going into the trash anyway. So it's not a lot, really. it's going to be things like soft plastic, so plastic bags, ketchup packets, chip bags, Capri Sun pouches, things like that. Any soft plastics are going to go in the trash. And then other, mixed materials too, things like diapers, markers, also pet waste has to go in the trash. Unfortunately, it's not compostable. But yeah, other mixed materials. And so with composting too, it is now mandatory for all homes in New York City to have compost. But if it's not available to you at your apartment building, there are drop-off sites that might be around you. So there's these smart bins. You might have seen them on the side of the street. You can download an app and access those. There's also food scrap drop-off sites at community gardens, and some at farmers markets are also back. So if you're interested in composting in any other ways, you can go to Sanitation's website, and they have a map that you can use as a resource to find what's near you. And just tips for storing compost in your homes before you set it out. A good idea is to maybe use a small container. What you can do is actually you can use any type of bag to collect your compost. It doesn't have to be a special compostable bag. You can use a plastic bag, and that will be separated before it even gets composted. So don't worry about it. If it's easier for you, you can use a plastic bag. And yeah, just emptying your container frequently, maybe cleaning it every now and then. You're not going to have a problem if you're doing that. And if you don't have a container to store your compost, another good idea is to maybe keep a bag in your fridge or freezer. By freezing it, you're going to stop that food waste from decomposing. So it's a good way to, make it last. It's not going to cause any odors, and you can keep it there before you're ready to take it out to the curb. But yes, that is all I had today. Does anybody have any questions while I'm here about composting or anything we just talked about?
One question we had was about the smart bins and their deployment throughout the Bronx. Are there any Bronx locations for those smart bins?
Yeah, so I know there are smart bins in the Bronx. I have seen them before. I know Sanitation has a website they have online all of the smart bin locations across the city. So I don't know off the top of my head what would be near you, but you can go. Maybe I can find the link quick too and drop it in the chat as well.
Okay.
In Parkchester, pretty much Pelham, 100.
Okay.
Right? So they give you a whole interactive map. So if you go on the DSM-5 website, it literally shows you like Google Maps, and then there's the icon that shows you all the different that you just drop it off.
Great.
And they update it regularly. So that's
Other comments, questions? Oh, you are muted, Beto.
You're muted.
You're muted.
Oh, thank you. I just dropped in the chat though, that website or that link where you can check on Sanitation's website where the drop-off sites are near you.
Great. Thank you so much for this informational and educational presentation. I, for one, am really excited about the composting program and excited to see how, plant waste can go in there and everything. So really thank you for coming out tonight.
Yeah, thank you all. I really appreciate you having me. Thank you for your time this evening. I'm going to drop my email down below. I do unfortunately have to run now, but I'll drop my email down below. And yeah, feel free to reach out to me if any more questions come up.
Sounds good. Will do. So then one of the other agenda items we have tonight is, just like we did with sanitation, identifying our district needs and voting on them so that they can be adopted in time for October. And I'd like to bring up some things that we've been talking about throughout the past year and kind of formally adopt them. So I'm going to list them and we can talk about them. And then if we all agree on them, we can, adopt them just like we did with the sanitation ones. So One thing is lighting on the Bronx River Greenway. We've talked previous meetings about the Burke Avenue Bridge. This is a connection for pedestrians. It's in Bronx Park. It's at the edge of our district, still within our district. It connects the East Bronx and the West Bronx. It's a pedestrian bridge underneath the highway. It's very dark. If anybody's familiar, there's no lighting. So I'd like to add that as a capital priority, lighting under the Burke Avenue Bridge. Adjacent to that in our district is Rosewood Playground. There is currently no lighting at night after the sun sets, and that's a safety issue as well. So those two lighting issues. There's something that Ashlyn has been part of, and we've also heard testimony from a school teacher in the neighborhood, Stephanie, who talked about Renzi Playground. We've heard that this is slated for capital upgrades, which we're really excited about. We really just want to validate and confirm our support for capital upgrades, so that we want to include on our statement of district needs. We've also talked about the bathrooms that get flooded at Olinville Playground at 219th Street and at 227th Street, the playground there. Those two bathrooms flood sewage actually into the Bronx River, which is unhealthy for not only our neighborhood, but also the Bronx River and the people downstream. So that's, I think, been partially funded, but we'd like the city to fund further those two bathroom upgrades. Shoelace Park Master Plan. We've talked about ADA accessible entrances at 216th Street, 213th Street, and at 229th Street, where there isn't even a pedestrian connection. You have to walk into oncoming traffic at 229th Street. So that's also within this proposal for statement of district needs. And the other thing that I'd like to bring up is this new idea. You know, we have this Williamsbridge neighborhood plan come to the neighborhood, thinking about, you know, how our transit area and our housing is the vision for our future. And within the study area is Shoelace Park and Bronx Park. And there's this area of our district that I really want us to kind of think about in a big picture, because it's a really interesting opportunity. And that's at the intersection of Bronx Boulevard and Duncan Ave. So can everybody online see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, great. So
Got it.
awesome. So this is an area that we get complaints about. The board office gets complaints about. There's a lot of, you know, we have a housing crisis, and hopefully this neighborhood plan addresses this housing crisis. This area may not be the best place for housing. It doesn't have sufficient resources or facilities to really make, you know, this a livable space. It's right next to the highway. But what it does is it's a physical connection between two pieces of parkland. We've got up to the north over here, we've got Shoelace Park right here. And to the south, we've got Bronx Park. And on this side of the street, there's really nothing. It's just a grassy median between, this is the other park, Bronx Park. It's just this grassy median between the highway. So what I think we could use this Williamsbridge neighborhood plan and White Plains Road neighborhood plan as an opportunity to connect Shoelace Park with Bronx Park. And you would do that by extending the Bronx River Greenway onto this portion of Bronx Boulevard and connecting it to Shoelace Park. So that way, our park system is really integrated into the rest of our Bronx park system and the Bronx River Greenway. You can do this through capital investments. Part of this roadway is already owned by the Parks Department. And one way we could do it through this Department of City Planning process is to demap it, which means to make it park land. this entire way, and that gives the Parks Department the ability to make it really nice, just like they did in Starlight Park, and they're doing in other parks throughout the city. So that's one thing that I'd like us to think about as we go through this neighborhood plan. You know, this is right next to White Plains Road. It connects Williamsbridge to the rest of the district. And one other thing it can do is make this kind of underground area under this Gun Hill Road tunnel overpass a little bit more pleasant. So just wanted to throw that out there, see what the temperature is in the room, if that's something that we want to advance as part of the statement of district needs. And further, we can of course talk about it further as the neighborhood plan advances. Yeah.
You're talking about the neighborhood plan that process, right?
Yes.
So we're having a public hearing here for us on Monday, June 23rd. So it's a perfect opportunity for you to bring that up and see if it's possible and add that together. That's a great idea. And then the second thing is that Mayor Adams had like a press release the other day about open spaces, abandoned lots, like turning it into like playground, little parks and stuff. And so earlier on, we did walk through to the city council member and like even visited some of these lots that were abandoned that would be potentially turning into open allocating spaces. Now it would be a good time, I think, for us to add that as well and have a discussion.
Okay. That's great. Do you envision the discussion happening now or just add it to the district meeting?
Add it to the list. So
okay.
The way the process works is we don't have or because we combine committees today, so we're supposed to have to hire folks here.
Oh, I thought Ursula said we have to have 11 people for both. Yeah.
Oh,
we do. Yeah.
Okay, so we're good. Right. Yes. And so then do like as inviting. As a list, you have the district meeting line now.
Right.
Know that for, well, yeah, so just want to know the others, right? So you're going to all file your lists at our full board meeting, put it in your committee reports. That's time to review before our full board meeting. We'll bring it up for a full send. Then over the summer, we can meet city agent, George and I meet, city agencies for the board. Board-wide for consultation, and then have to have a public hearing in September where you all bring this up, the community gets to have their input, and then in October, 31st, we start the meeting with more things. So I am here to give anyone else? And we got into
yeah.
So this multi-purpose space that's between BxCB12 and Eden Ball Playground. So
right.
The next space, it just needs to be reimagined. I was involved with Luke as well as George and practically every other agency in the city. It's like basically boils down to that the DOE holds a stake in it as well as the city in general.
Oh, they can't hear. Oh, I'm sorry, I got fine.
So I can pull up the map.
Thanks. All right, so sorry, folks. What was just mentioned last was also the suggestion of adding into the list of possible space renovations and capital projects the space that's in between PS 112 and Eden Wall Playground, which is Luke is highlighting right there. It used to be basically no man's land, but it does have a name. It is literally just referred to as a multi-purpose space. As we can see, it hasn't been utilized, and meaning that it hasn't been upgraded pretty much for decades. So that's why there's humongous cracks all throughout that entire space. But PS 112 does use it for their kids to line up in, as well as sometimes they used to use it for field days. And we kind of want to get back to that. And you can see that, there were attempts to try to make this space usable. So if you're looking at the screen right now, you'll be able to see that there's an outline already for a baseball diamond, but there was never any funding pushed to actually make that happen. The same thing with soccer. Soccer is a very big thing in our community, and When it came time to actually build a field, they said, you know what, it may not be plausible in this space, and they built a field inside of Edenwald itself, which is a football field, American football field, that people play soccer on, but is mainly used for football and has a track going around it. So this space has been pretty much just left untouched that entire time. So now we're respectfully asking people of the community and the community board to give your input of what you would want to see this space look like. So one of the
baseball field anymore.
right?
You said that it couldn't be a baseball field anymore?
No, I'm saying that when they were first like getting it together to make it into a sort of a baseball field, they got that far, which was literally just doing the lines.
Oh.
Yeah, and then people kind of just did not have the money or the wherewithal to be able to make this a thing that could happen. As well as you have to have certain parameters in order to be considered a baseball field. All right, so maybe that was also a part of it, but that was also, again, many years back. So now the space is just pretty much left like this, and people want to utilize it for either. Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Great.
Yeah.
So this would be capital funding to enhance and build out facilities at the multi-use space at BxCB12.
As well as the Edenwald Library, looking at different advancements, maybe adding in another story, because they used to have a wonderful children's section. Okay?
She was here last week. She was here last. She's always here when we have our general board meeting. She normally comes.
Okay. Right. So adding that in.
So that's funding for a new building?
Right. No expansion of the building. So currently it's a one-story building. It would be great. It was also a suggestion that a separate event that happened in the community last Monday about possibly adding in another floor. Because even just adding in another floor, that gives a whole wealth of space, not just for books, but for like an extension of their computer lab. Just more activities can actually be done at that library, which they already host a bunch of events, but they quite literally don't have the space to be able to do anything. So those are my two extra suggestions. Right? Right.
A new building. That building is 50-something years old.
Association at Edenwald. I live there, and they just cut down all the trees in the field, and the management company, along with L&M, is advocating for funding, and I know that they've communicated with Kevin Riley to reopen up the baseball field and to work on the actually a possibility of to do something for entertainment. That's the conversation, and I can bring back some more information to the committee. But we're actually, that's something I brought up since my background is entertainment, and I'm working on a nonprofit. And that's what we want to be able to see, to have more festivals to happen in the community. But I also know that there is a contract going on with Botanical Gardens to beautify the area and to separate the park. I just don't know how they're going to separate it. There's a torn between the baseball field, keeping it as the structure of the baseball field, versus carving out some type of amphitheater entertainment. I just wanted to add that. It's just not standing alone. They've actually cleaned it up. No, they've cut all the trees down, and now they are cleaning up, and they're going to be working on the tarp. And they meaning the community wants the baseball field back, but we want also entertainment. So we're trying to figure that out with the private management company in the city. And NYCHA, CNM, CNC, excuse me, CNC and LNM, sorry. CNC and LNM.
That's for the space.
Edenwald Community, the 112, yeah. That's by the school, right? Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So how do we want I think the what he is mentioning is kind of general infrastructural recreational improvements. Is that something that you'd align on there? Okay, so in a capital investment, like capital money, building in concrete. And okay, so I'm going to just read down this list really quickly. We've got two lighting issues on the Bronx River Greenway in Bronx Park in our district. We've got that Shoelace Park connector connecting Shoelace Park and Bronx Park on the west span of Bronx Boulevard. We've got 3 accessible entrances that we want to Shoelace Park, 216th, 213th, 229th. Renzi Playground capital upgrades. We've got 2 playground bathrooms in Shoelace Park that we want lifted out of the floodplain. We want Pocket Park expansion in CB12. We want the multi-use PS112 Edenwald recreational capital investments on our statement of district needs. So that's the Parks Department.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
You told me, remember one thing we were talking about, which one was it? We spoke about lighting as well, adding lighting, and we didn't know when. Yeah. I think it was like between NYC and Parks. Yeah. Oh, the lights. But so we should add that, and it's probably, remember we didn't know if we went to Parks. We should add that, and then make it a full thing.
Okay.
Figure out.
Okay. So the last addition would be expansion of the blue lighting program in our park system. And the Halfman Park. All parks.
Do they take care of Thistle Gardens as well?
That's technically Department of Transportation property. Yeah, but
there's a huge area inside in front of Thistle Gardens that's like they don't really take care of it as much. I feel like, and it could have been a park if they wanted to. It's just really just like weeds.
So I'm not sure if that's in the study area, but and I have to say that I'm a Parks DOT employee, but I don't comment on behalf of the agency. That is DOT property, but if we wanted to during this neighborhood plan, we could try to push the council and city planning to try to demap that into actual parkland. So Thistle Gardens is no longer on a lease with as a street, and it's an actual park.
That's a great question for the public hearing.
Right.
Monday the 23rd.
Right. Okay. So so that's the list of parks needs. We're going to get to the Committee 3 library thing. Are there any comments about that list of parks needs? Are there any questions about that list of park needs? Are there any nays? Are there any abstentions, recusals? All in favor, vote aye. Aye. Unanimously passed. Great job, everybody.
So what do we have public safety
and libraries. So let's. Okay, so.
No, I wanted to say we want libraries and we just talk about the type of space we have.
Right.
And
Baychester. Sure.
I was just getting ready to say to you all, I can't hear anything that you're saying. So if it's possible you can to whoever is speaking, then that would help me a lot.
Okay.
Sorry for my lateness, but somebody broke into the home next door to me.
So sorry to hear that. So the Committee 3 that handles libraries, besides capital funding for a new building at Edenwald Library, are there any other Committee 3 capital requests that we'd like to add this year?
Is Miss Claude on there? Miss Joan Claude, is she on? Miss Claude? That's
Yes.
Library and Cultural Affairs. Okay, there we go.
Is there anything, what's the question? Would you repeat that
Sure.
question?
Yeah. Are there any capital or expense requests that Committee 3 would like us to include in this year's budget priorities?
I don't know of any. I could inquire, what's the deadline on this?
I can speak to something.
Yeah.
One of the things that we were speaking about in Committee 3 one of the things we've been speaking about in Committee 3 is the fact that in order for us to create health interventions within our community, we need updated data. One of the biggest pieces of data that New York City provides in open data for health outcomes in New York City is the community health profiles. Other than that, there is nothing else except for something called EpiQuery. But even that, I did a long literature review recently within the past week. There isn't any updated health data on any of those sites since 2021 to 2020, depending on what health outcome you're looking for. So one of the things that we were talking about proposing is having a new community health profile survey done, so that way we can understand the scope of the health issues that are affecting our community, so that way we can develop health interventions and programs to directly address them.
And so that would be something that you'd probably want the Department of Health and Hygiene.
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Come out to do the health profile. Because the last health profile was done when I was in school. And I believe that was 2012, 2015. That's the last one that was done. And it assessed the needs of the community. And there hasn't been one done for District 12.
That's great. And so that's the one that you're all identifying.
Right. Because that's the only, right. Yeah, that's the only way we're going to be able to identify the needs. You have to assess it first. So.
Hi, Eva.
You.
I'm good. How are you?
Are there any other Committee 3 budget requests?
Yeah.
That's fine. I'll close out.
And we'll go into public safety right after this. Okay, so we've got new health profile surveys for District 12 and Edenwald Library new building. Any questions? Any comments? Any nays? Any abstentions? Any recusals? Any ayes? Say aye. Aye. All right, that passes unanimously. Turning it over to public safety.
Are you ready for education?
Okay.
You want to do public safety first?
The libraries, I didn't get an answer. Is there a deadline when you should get this answer as to the library, the Wakefield Library, what they need? The need assessment is?
It was today because we have to now take it to our full board meeting for a vote. And then in the summer, we have our public hearing. I'm sorry. In the summers, when we speak with our city agencies for budget consultation. September, we have our public hearing, and then our priorities are submitted at the end of October.
Okay, because I think it was early spring that the board president and the councilman Dinowitz, they visited the Wakefield Library.
Yes.
They actually awarded them some money.
Yes,
So,
correct.
Right. So I thought that was taken care of. Okay. But I will inquire.
And at the full board meeting, if you have other ideas, bring it up then.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening. I would like to add to our needs for this community in regards to public safety. More officers. I mean, every command always wants more officers. I know we got 20 plus officers in the last graduating class. Definitely want to advocate to always have more officers be sent to our precinct. We have a large precinct, covers a lot of real estate, and we need more officers. Um, Definitely adding new fleet of vehicles for the precinct. I see a lot of other commands have newer vehicles. Not saying that our precinct has, you know, older vehicles, but they do, and some of them are really like run down. We did get a couple of new Ford Explorers, but I think we definitely need new vehicles for our officers. When an officer is driving around town, it's good for them to be seen in a nice vehicle, not a rundown, vehicle. We have a lot of old vehicles in our precinct, so I think that's something very important. That
So would you say more vehicles, ideally new?
well, replace the ones that we have now. Because if you drive by the precinct now, you see that the ones that we have are really old, and those vehicles are not. No other precinct really uses them no more.
So that's a good case. Right?
Up
Yeah.
a billion percent. You know what I
Right.
mean? What was I saying? Sorry. We definitely need to try to get some sort of traffic enforcement up in the Northeast Bronx. I think there's only one traffic enforcement agency for the whole entire Bronx. They came here last time, and the gentleman was nice enough to express the concerns, and he actually told us that there's not many traffic agents. We definitely need more traffic agents up here. There's a lot of issues up here that are not being, dealt with. We definitely need a station here in the Northeast Bronx for traffic agents for traffic enforcement. So, for instance, I mean, we have a particular issue on Montefiore Hospital, right? That street between Carpenter between 232nd and 233rd. It's no standing anytime. There's vehicles there all the time. There's always traffic. The ambulance have issues coming in. If those vehicles were to be ticketed on a regular, they would not park there. But being that enforcement is not done by traffic, they
And
park there.
Department of Transportation, when we asked about a study conversion, they came back to us and said they're pushing it back on enforcement, that we need to lean on that for a solution in that area.
There's
no opportunity for like traffic cameras and stuff like that to help enforcement?
Well, that's another thing I was going to get to. Besides the traffic agents, once you give tickets, people respect and say, you know what, I'm not going to do it again. But if you don't give them tickets, they're not going to do anything. I mean,
The traffic cameras that send the tickets out.
well, no, that's something different. So I'm talking about a presence, like a physical person giving out a ticket. Once a physical person starts giving out tickets, people are going to stop parking there. Unfortunately, we have that throughout the whole entire command. You know what I mean? In regards to traffic lights, we need more traffic lights, especially in the entrance going into the Bronx River. I mean, every day I stand there and dudes just be coming zooming. Eventually, one day they're going to take somebody. The bike lane is here, and these guys are coming. Last time, this delivery dude, he almost got taken. There's no enforcement. We need traffic enforcement. I'm going to also try to have a sit down with the CO to see any additional needs that the command might need. You know what I mean? And I'll bring that up for September, right before September.
Yeah, or even if you can speak to him before our full board meeting on the 26th.
That's next week.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Let's see, because we have a lot of things
Yeah.
going on. But I'll definitely try to reach out to him.
So you have that, the three?
Okay, so we've got more officers, new vehicles, replace the old vehicle, and more traffic enforcement agents.
Yes, of course. Those are the cameras you're referring to. Yes. Speeding camera, right?
And in addition, the blue lights, right, in each park pushes it to NYC, the blue lights for the park.
The blue light system illuminates the area.
Yeah.
So that's also kind of a crime factor, but also just to maintain
Sorry, thank you. All right, the last thing people want in the area are obnoxious, like just bright stadium lights all the way around the park, and now they have to close their windows, all types of stuff. It's like if we institute a blue light system, we're touching on everything. We're touching on NYPD safety, we're talking about medical safety with those type of systems, as well as illuminating the area in general softly so that people can actually see where they're going.
So one thing with the speed cameras is that it's a temporary program. It's highly effective at deterring people from speeding through red lights, right? And can we expand that to be not only speed cameras but red light cameras too? Is that acceptable? So the thing is, every year, and the mayor and his commissioner just went to Albany to testify. The city has to beg Albany for approval, for permission to use those cameras. Every 4 years they have. So I think what we might want to do is write a letter to our state officials saying, make this a permanent program. These speed cameras, these red light cameras save lives. Let's not just bank on, political stars lining up every 4 years. Let's make this a permanent program to really institute and save, July 4th?
No, July 4th.
Okay. It's a tough day. Okay, Saturday, July 12th for legislative practice. Yeah. So I'm not sure, if we want to make a separate vote tonight to write that letter to Albany to say make it a permanent program, I'd be personally happy to. Maybe let's first go through and adopt these requests. We have more officers, new vehicles, more traffic enforcement agents, speed and cameras, and red light camera expansion, blue light expansion in our parks.
And I would just like that under who is needed, but more in general. But I know what you're saying, but just need more vehicles. We're also certainly the officers that we already have. That I've seen them on patrol.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah. Okay, but
Okay, so more and new for vehicles. Any questions? Any comments on that list? Any nays? Any abstentions? Any recusals? All in favor?
one last one.
Carries unanimous. Environment. Okay.
Infrastructure. We'll be talking about our infrastructure. So that is something that we need to push for capital funding to development. There's pockets within this district that we're seeing. But it's all to say capital funding for infrastructure, stormwater damage, kids as well for everybody, but capital funding to the smart.
Okay. So assessment, infrastructure.
To update current infrastructure.
Okay. And what does that mean exactly?
So we need more funding versus what's that and to update and upgrade.
Okay, like expansion of the green capturing, what do you call it? Green gardens? So like new water mains.
To be able to hold large amounts of water.
Okay, so yeah, that sometimes they build out playgrounds with like stormwater capture area.
Rain gardens.
Rain gardens.
But it's not that. Green gardens are great. Actually, our infrastructure is the right that
Yeah.
needing the housing, big lot, development, better. Sometimes we don't have.
And those were buy-ins total years, like in the 50s, 40s, 30s. And back like maybe 50, all like that.
I think we've been to capture like an inch.
Yeah, so what I'm saying, I guess, right, I'm happy like in water. This is when the water will start down. Everywhere else, when it's bubble, it just, by the time I get it, I'm trying to remain.
Yeah.
Yeah. My sewer, we have to be up.
Yeah.
So
Sorry, right.
Okay.
So reinforcing it and,
Okay.
yeah.
So the assessment, but then also infrastructure, capital funding.
Sustain larger amounts of rainwater. Can we also add an expansion to our tree canopy? Or what? Tree canopy. Basically, adding more trees. Like, where can we actually add more trees? They don't come in. Because trees all over. And so we gotta be cautious with what tree we're asking. Right? Because I can understand it keeps shading one area, but it also for some areas, it's a big cost tear a tree down, and nobody can afford that. So we gotta be cautious of what we're asking. Right, so there are different organizations that are already giving out free trees and ones that aren't included or ones that are presenting too much pollen. Basically suggesting that we add on to the assessment of what spaces within our community that are underutilized can be better utilized for adding more greenery, because that will help with the air quality as well as taking away some of the water that we definitely get. Okay, but yeah. Right, so it's that, so you're asking for funding to assess where we could beneficial and the type of trees that would be beneficial for environmental.
Okay, so we're talking about holistic assessment of our infrastructure as it relates to stormwater capture and capital funding to be able to accommodate for those larger amounts of water in the future.
And upgrading, right? Adding capital funding.
Capital funding.
Upgrade.
Yep. Larger, yeah. Upgrade. Yep. Any questions on these two items? Any comments? Any abstentions? Any recusals? Any nays? All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Passes unanimously. Okay, so we are just so productive tonight. This is great. We just finished our 6th vote, if you can believe it, of the night. Let's give ourselves a round of applause. And we haven't done education yet.
Oh, education.
So capital request or expense request for education.
Okay, so the easiest thing for me to do, Etonia, I just texted to you.
Sweet.
I just texted to you. I think it'd be easier if you could read it for me.
I got you. Yeah.
You. You found it?
So sorry about that. We are going to restart that all over again. Okay, so these are the suggestions for education, and they're very good suggestions. A community space to train staff and district community members to use technology to design community engagement resources, STEAM instruction, and 21st century capabilities. This space would function as a high-tech hub for STEAM trainings and would benefit all schools in our district by building their capacity to use technology for A, community outreach and projects, B, STEAM instruction, and C, preparing students and staff with 21st century skills. STEAM stands for science, technology, engineering, the arts, and math. STEAM education is an interdisciplinary approach to learning that integrates these 5 disciplines into real-world learning experiences. STEAM education can help students develop critical thinking skills, visualize connections, and collaborate. STEAM education can help students develop skills that are useful in many fields, including creative careers like design, writing, acting, and music. It can also help ensure that all students have the opportunity to succeed regardless of their natural skills and passions. So there is a motion. This lovely explanation is accompanied with a motion. So to confirm, Ms. Talene, what you would like us to do is put forward a motion of asking for everything aforementioned, which is the tech hub. Okay.
Definitely.
So on behalf of Ms. Talene, I would like to put forward that motion that we move forward with that. Would anyone like to second?
Second.
Right. Dope. We have 2 seconds, so that's 4. Yes.
Could you write that out?
Oh, yeah.
Luke, if you would like, I can send it to you in an
Right.
email. Or
That
even
was
text it to
2
you.
minutes for this one.
You tell me what's easy.
Are there any other items from the education committee?
I didn't hear a thing you said.
Are there any other suggestions from the educational committee?
No, that is what we have so far. Miriam Borgella, are you still on? Let me see if she's still on. I had everybody on here from the district office, but I think maybe they left. Miriam, are you on? Is she saying yes?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay, so that is what I have. And Diane, Dr. Diane Price Banks is here. She had something she'd like to say too regarding education.
Greetings. Thank you, Ms. Dickerson. Do I have the floor? Can you hear me? Can everyone hear me?
Can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you, Dr. Price.
Okay, perfect. I wanted to share a flyer, but I will just, in the interest of time, I'll just go ahead. I wanted to talk about our internship scholarship initiative. So hello, everybody. I am Dr. Diane Price Banks. I'm the program director for the Medical Laboratory Technician program at Bronx Community College. Many of you do know me from the Education Committee because Ms. Dickerson always gives me a chance to showcase the program. But I'm here today to discuss a critical need within our healthcare system and introduce an exciting opportunity for our community leaders. So this initiative originated from a conversation with the esteemed education chairperson, Ms. Tolene Dickerson. And if you've been at many of these education committee meetings, then you know that there's a significant workforce shortage of medical laboratory professionals. There's an estimated 20,000 to 25,000 fewer medical technologists needed across the United States. This shortage impacts patient care, increases laboratory errors, and increases burnout that our dedicated healthcare staff right here in New York City experience. So just for those of you who don't know, because I know there's many people that's here that's not part of the education committee, the medical laboratory professionals are vital healthcare professionals who work in hospitals, clinical laboratories across the city. We play a vital role in diagnosing and helping to diagnose and treat diseases by analyzing blood, other body fluids, and tissues. Our work helps to identify the presence of diseases or abnormalities like diabetes or cancer, right? So ultimately leading to improved patient care and treatment. So this is to highlight how critical we are. At Bronx Community College, we are uniquely positioned to address this workforce shortage as we are the sole medical laboratory technician program in New York City. Our students are ready to become the vital workforce our hospitals need, but many of them face financial hardships during their 500-hour clinical work internship. So yes, our students have to complete 500 hours. That's 15 weeks of clinical internships working Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, 8 to 4, or 4 p.m. to midnight. So this creates a financial hardship because many of them can't work at the same time that they're doing their internships. So what we're proposing is that we create a medical laboratory technician healthcare career scholarship. This initiative will provide critical financial support to our students, alleviating strain during their internships and ensuring that they can complete their education and become licensed certified professionals. We estimate by investing in these scholarships, we can directly address the workforce shortage here in New York City. We can enhance job opportunities for our residents and strengthen our local healthcare institutions like Montefiore, who hire many of our students. The 500 hours, we think if we can get the students a scholarship for $16.50 per hour. That comes up roughly a little over $8,000 a student. If we can fund that initiative, that would be fantastic. This initiative is mirrored based on what is happening with Columbia University and the Washington Heights residents. So this is the same thing that they have. They have an internship scholarship through their politicians there. So we're calling on our community leaders in the Bronx, government representatives, the healthcare institutions, and labor organizations to partner with us at Bronx Community College to make this scholarship a reality. We think that together we can empower our residents, we can fill essential healthcare roles, and build a healthier future for the Bronx, and all of New York City as a whole. So I'm hoping that we can discuss or collaborate to launch this initiative, this vital program, and support the new generation of healthcare heroes. I thank you, and if anyone has any questions, comments, or concerns, I'll be in the chat.
As always, thank you very much, Dr. Beck.
All right. Hi, Ms. Colleen. We have one question for Dr. Banks. All right, one more time.
With the new district that the governor mentioned, for community college, this benefit them?
All right, so our Madam Chair would like to know if this new initiative that just got passed by Governor Hochul, does this actually help? Meaning the free CUNY tuition, right? Right? So is CUNY not even tuition remission, it's free tuition for CUNY students. Would that help your program or would it be something independent?
That's a great question. It will help. The Hochul initiative will definitely help with the tuition. However, this will be a separate initiative because the students go on their internships at the local hospitals like Montefiore. They have to provide their own transportation to and from the internship, provide their own food and resources, all while having to pay their rent, take care of their child and childcare, etc. So this is separate, and this is to help with their internship and offset some of that financial burden they're experiencing because they cannot work full time. And if they work full time, it's really a challenge.
Understood, Dr. Banks. So to that regard, this is literally to help with day-to-day expenses so that they can actually concentrate on school. That's awesome. What do you think the ballpark amount that you're shooting for is in terms of the scholarships for each student?
That's a great question, and we have the exact number. It is 8,000. Hold on, let me just pull up that number here. I want to make sure I give the right number. I had it here, but it must have closed. Oh, here it is. Okay. It is $8,250 per student to complete their 500 hours of internship. And again, this is already an initiative that is happening with Washington Heights students.
Right. So Dr. Banks, currently, how many students do you have enrolled in the program?
By the grace of God and the pandemic, we have increased the number of students in the program we have 194 students in the program, but that's just the program at large. When it comes to the internship, right now we have 14 students on internship for the summer, and we have 20 students on internship for the upcoming fall semester. So we have approximately anywhere between 10 to 20 students that will be going on internship every semester.
Okay. So basically what the board is asking is that we would need to know for the Bronx students, how much money that you would need for them.
Right. So not everyone is a Bronx student. So you're right. I would say about of 10 students, about 8 of them, 7.5 of them are Bronx residents. And we have their zip codes. I can always pull their zip codes. And what I would like to do if we start this initiative is that similar to what Washington Heights does, only the students from that district will apply for the scholarship. So the key is to get more community leaders involved from different districts within or around the Bronx so that someone from 10466 can tap into the money from District 12, while across the road it will be another district. And as long as we have that politician in place and helping to fund that scholarship, the students throughout the Bronx will benefit. But this would be just for Community Board 12 residents.
Got it. Thank you, Dr. Banks.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Sure.
Okay, so we've got $8,250 dollars per student. You know, what if we, because sometimes programs always grow, what if we include $500,000 as the capital, as the expense request? Do you think that would satisfy the need here?
You said $500,000?
Yeah, as a total budget request.
I think for District 12, I think that would be more than enough.
Okay, so we're talking about including as along with the item that E brought up earlier, be it Jolene, we're looking to fund a BMCC medical internship scholarship to the tune of $500,000 per year. These two items, are there any other additional educational budget requests that we're making?
So I just wanted to add that was also the tech hub was also a brainchild of Dr. Sanders as well as so I'm just literally just reiterating.
For sure. That was the first item that you mentioned, the tech hub. Okay, so the tech hub and the internship scholarship. Any abstentions? Any recusals? Noted that one recusal. Thank you. Any nays? Any abstentions? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that passes. And that's 7 votes for the evening. The speed camera and red light camera, I'm realizing that might be a transportation item. Yeah, and I'm also on that. I work for transportation, so I might have to recuse myself. But we might want to consult Committee 1 about that. But are there any other items that we want to take? So we filled up the entire voting sheet. Congratulations, and let's give it up to Javad for transferring that microphone around. Okay, are there any other new businesses? I saw on the agenda that the Ujama Garden was here to present. Not sure if they're still around. Going once, going twice. Okay, social media focused discussion. Do you want to do that tonight? Okay, we'll take it up. Item 9, stakeholders corner. Are there any stakeholders items? New old business, June awareness, June 20th, World Refugee Day. I would ask the, yes?
Oh, hi. This is Sarah Catalinato. Miss Tarlene invited me from Parents to Improve School Transportation. I'm not going to give a long spiel now, but I wanted to maybe put on your radar for the meetings early in the fall that there's so much going on with school busing, a lot of inequity, a lot of issues. And there's some legislation, there, resolutions, there are things that people can actually do, and some recruiting, and there's been some good ideas we've gotten from some other community boards. So we hope to have a fuller discussion and see what ideas you might have. I know you probably see the long lines of buses out by Truman campus, and they're coming all morning, which means kids are getting there late and there's field trips that get canceled. So it impacts the parks and museum and library committee as well. And of course, transportation, traffic, and pollution. So that's the request. That's all.
Yeah, would you be able to send the board office more information? That's a great issue, the need to speed up and make better our school bus service. That might be something that we can share with Committee 1 and Committee 3. Maybe they can do a joint committee meeting. But that's something that we'd also really like to speak more about.
Excuse me, Luke,
Yes.
can I say something real quick? There's a note in the chat from Dr. Banks. It says, just to clarify, it's BCC, Bronx Community College, not BMCC. So I don't know if someone
Right.
did that, but.
Great.
Okay.
Yes. We will make that friendly amendment. That's BCC, not BMCC. Thank you so much for that.
Welcome.
Okay. Yes.
So I would just need which email, because I have emailed many things to just tonight while I was waiting over to Ms. Dickerson for sharing some of the current, coverage and action network letters and so forth for people's consideration.
Yeah,
But,
you can send that to
mhm.
Miss Celine if you have her contact info. Otherwise, you could send it to George Torres, the district manager, and I'll put that email in the chat, and he would circulate it to us.
Okay, I'm actually, I'm not in the chat. If you could just take a moment to spell it out, because my phone
Yes.
wouldn't let me do the whole.
I have the
Okay.
information in my email.
It's
Just,
inside the, yeah.
yeah, I have it.
Yes, it's G Torres, GTORRES at cb.nyc.gov. Okay, are
Okay.
there any other new business items for tonight?
Thank
Is there a motion to adjourn? We have a second. So moved. Thank you. The time is 9:01. And we are ending the meeting. Thank you so much, everybody.
Luke, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Quick question, Alpha, did you get to present everything? No? Okay.
No, that's great.